fifth graders, today we're going to go over standard and expanded form, place values, how to compare numbers, and how to round. So the first section we're going to go over is standard and expanded form. It says convert between standard and expanded form. So what standard form means is, if you look at number 2, this is how a standard form looks like. Just a regular whole number. And an expanded form looks like number 1 over here, where you add different place values. So we have the tens and the ones, and you're just adding them together. And we're just going to be converting between standard and expanded form in this topic. So we're going to go over number 1 together. And as I said, number 1 is an expanded form, so we're going to convert that into standard form. Now 20 plus 6, we know that as 26. So this is your standard form of 20 plus 6. Simple enough. And number 4 is going to be just as simple. We're going to be converting 890 into an expanded form. So we know that in order to convert into expanded form, you should know your place values. So your 0 is in our ones place, 9 is our tens place, 8 is our hundreds place. Now knowing this, we can write 800 plus 90 plus 0, and this is your expanded form. You don't necessarily have to write the plus 0. You can just write 800 plus 90, and this will be your expanded form of 890. Now, the second topic we're going to go over is place values. And it says fill in the missing numbers, and we're going to go over number 1 and number 2 together. So this is similar to how an expanded form looks like, but instead with these words over here. So I'm just going to go over this one quickly as well. So it says 838. And you should have it filled out as 838. It should immediately pop up in your head because 8 is in our ones place over here, 3 is in our tens place, so it goes over here, 8 is in our hundreds place. So I'm going to do 2. 2 is the same, except that now we have a thousands place over here. And since 6 is in the thousands place, I'm going to write 6 over here. 4 is in our hundreds place, so I'm going to write 4 in the hundreds. And then 3 is in our tens place, so I'm going to write 3 tens. 2 is in our ones place, so I'm going to write 2 ones. Now the third topic we're going to go over is how to compare numbers. So we're going to compare numbers for number 1 and number 3. So up over here, I wrote the symbols for when you use to compare numbers. We have a greater than sign over here, we have a less than sign, and we have an equal to sign. Now for when you're comparing numbers, we're going to do number 1 over here. You're going to go from left to right. You're going to look at the numbers left to right. So we have 568 blank 559. So when you look from left to right for the both two numbers, you're going to see 5 first on both sides. And since they're the same number, we're going to move on to the next number, next place value on the tens place. We have a 6 on the left number, and we have a 5 on the right number. And now we came across different numbers over here, so I'm going to write it down over here. 6 down here and 5 down here. Now between 6 and 5, we know that 6 is greater than or equal to 5. So I'm going to put a greater than sign over here. And then all you're going to do after this is just bring this sign up over here. And this will be your final solution. So I'm going to go over 3 again without the too complicated words. So we have 87,428 and we have 87,430. Now we're going to go from left to right again. We're going to view the numbers from left to right. So our first number we're going to see is 8 on both sides. They're the same, so we're going to move on to the next number, which is 7s, and they're the same as well. Now we're going to go to the hundreds place, and we see that both of them still have the same number, 4. And then we're going to go to our tens place, and now we have different numbers. We have a 2 over here, and we have a 3 over here. Now from here, we know that 2 is less than 3, so I'm going to put a less than sign, and you're going to bring this up into your final solution. Now some important points in this section is that you have to go from left to right. Now I'll show you a case where if you go from right to left, it'll end up in a different solution. And number 1 is the perfect example. So we have 568, 559. Now if you go from right to left, you'll notice 8 and 9 already have different values. So these will be your points over here, numbers over here. And we know that 8 is less than 9, so I'm going to bring this up as our final solution. Now, if you went from right to left, you would have ended up with a less than sign. But the actual answer is a greater than sign. So this is a good example of you cannot go from right to left. You'll end up with a different answer. You must go from left to right. Now, the last section we're going to go over is rounding. And we're going to round the following numbers to the indicated place values, which you can see in the underlined over here. Now, when you're rounding, you have to look at the underlined value, and then the first step should be you look at the number right of the underlined value. And I'm going to call this the circled, and you're going to circle that number to the right of the underlined value. Now, if that circled number is less than 5, you're going to keep the underlined value the same. But if the circle number is greater than or equal to 5, you're going to round the underlined value up. And I'll show you what round up means. Now I'm going to show you with number 1 over here. So we see our underlined value is a 4. So we're going to look at the number right of the 4, which is a 5 over here. And I'm going to circle it. I recommend circling it for visual representation. And so 5 is greater than or equal to 5. So it fits into the second option over here, which says round the underlined value up. Now our underlined value is 4 over here. So round up means just to add it by 1. So if you round up 4, you'll end up with 5. Now our underlined value is rounded. Now we have to do something with the other two values over here. And to numbers right of the underlined value, you're just going to leave it as 0. You're just going to change all the values to 0. 500. And that's it. So I'm also going to go over number 2 to show you what happens to numbers left of the underlined value. So we have 3,537, and our underlined value is in our hundreds place. So we're going to look at our tens place, which is the number to the right. And I'm going to circle this, which is a 3. And 3 is less than 5, so it fits into the first option over here, which says keep the underlined value the same. Now we're going to keep the 5 the same, which means we just leave it as 5. We're not going to add 1 to it. That only happens for the second option over here. So now we still have a thousands place and the tens and the ones place over here. Still left blank. Now from number 1, we know that the numbers right of the underlined value will all turn to 0. Now what do you do with the number left of the underlined value? And it's simple. All you have to do is just keep it the same like this. So your final answer for number 2 should be 3,500. So keep in mind, your first step should be to look at the number on the right of it and circle it and see which option it goes into. And once you do, you're going to do that option. And the numbers to the right of the underlined value will turn all to 0, and the numbers to the left of it will be kept the same. And that's it for today.